Welcome back to the Mighty Mum podcast on such an amazing week, Mental Health Week. And we are so glad to have Sand-On WA bringing this mini-series for everybody this week, sponsored by Mental Health Australia and Lotterywest. So thank you guys for making this happen. I have Amber here from Neurospicy Collective and Kate, the founder of Sand-On WA. And today, on the third part of the series, we're going to be talking about being a female in a male-dominated industry and how that may have affected our mental health and tactics that we've learned to kind of support ourselves. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having
For the third time.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen the other two episodes, go back and look at them. They're around mental health and motherhood, and then also mental health in the workplace. So the big elephant in the room, women in male-dominated industries. I shared a story where even yesterday I was at an event and myself, I was the only female on a full table of men. And then my friend was also on a table of all men. And she was actually asked, how does it feel to be the only woman on this table? And what do you actually think about this whole woman in mining thing? So what would your feedback have been if you were my friend at the table?
It's fine because I'm their boss.
Yeah.
Look, I've been the only female in our whole business before. Then when I actively recruited females. So that's absolutely not the case now. We're sitting at about 30%. But I will say that that's because of me, because females attract females. No other female would want to walk into a male-dominated industry. You can't be what you can't see. So, but look, I was at an event a few weeks ago at the WA Training Awards, and I was so proud because there was a token male that won. And every event was every category was won by a female, and most of the business categories were led by females up on stage. And I was like, wow, like this is amazing. Like go females, things are actually changing. But then I went to an event the following week and I was the only female up on stage. It was an industry excellence event at the Rockingham Chamber of Commerce, and we took that event out as well. But I was like, man, I'm standing up here in a room full of men. And some people came up to me afterwards and they're like, we're so glad you won because you were the only female up there. And I was like, yeah. But so I think society still has a long way to go for it to be, I don't think it should be necessarily totally female or totally male. 50-50, like, 49-51, like just a bit more equal. Equality is what we're striving for. We're not striving to take over the world, even though I know if we did, it would be a much better place.
Yes, it definitely would be.
But yeah, just consistently even is what I'll say. Is what I strive for.
Yeah.
And I think there's such an important place for men in this conversation, right? Because no one will understand the maleness experience more than a man, much like they're never going to understand really the experience of being the only person somewhere. The privilege of being a man is you're very unlikely at any point to be the only man somewhere. They've never known what it feels like to be a minority.
Our producer
except our producer today, the estrogen in the room, he's going to pass out soon.
Yeah.
But I think there's such an important place for men to be advocating as well as much as they can. But I think also as females, and I think it's like that sort of unspoken thing, I know I've definitely experienced it, we can be really shit in our industry to other females.
100%.
And we have this attitude of like, there's only room for one of us. That scarcity mindset needs to go. Like there is always room for all of us. And I think as women, particularly as female leaders, we owe it to other females, particularly those earlier on in their careers, to get them a seat at the table and bring a friend. Never be the only girl at the table. Bring another girl with you. Like always have that opportunity to create those spaces for them, because I think actually sometimes we have to be honest, and I think sometimes we're our own worst enemies. I'd like some of the women in industry, there's an attitude of like, well, there can only be one woman at this table. It's like, no, build your own table then, girl. Like build your own table, invite people into that. So I think men play such an important role in advocating for us, but also recognizing that like there is room for all of us, and this industry, there is room for people of all kinds. And I'm very privileged to be a part of that. But, we are aware that we're the minority. So I think we owe it to each other to raise each other in that process. Rising tide raises all ships, as they say.
I love that. And we've all worked in mining. We've all, been the only woman in the room. It's actually quite funny. I'm going to reflect back. I think it must have been, I don't know, 9 years ago, I was the infrastructure supervisor, and I was meeting with this consultant company, and they said, how is it, being a woman out here? Like, what could they do to make the workplace better? And I said, well, I'm the supervisor of the building maintenance team, and I still share the toilets with the boys.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's frogs in the toilets, and like, if I want some private time, or, it's that time of the month, I'm still sharing everything with the men. And I think, as a reflection on that, the industry as a whole has come so far in terms of supporting women's mental health. Like, there's now sanitary packs. They've really gone a long way in terms of supporting women's mental health in the industry. Have any of you had a similar experience like that?
So when I was 18, working in mining in Port Hedland, and I remember someone wrote "Kate is a lesbian" in the back of the boys' toilets, and I went to my boss at the time and said, I won't say his name, but someone wrote this in the back of the toilets. And he goes, well, Kate, go and sleep with some of the boys and they won't say that. And I was like, and if he said that today, oh my goodness, he would be hauled over HR and fired. And he's lucky that I just laughed it off, being, raised in Port Hedland. I still think things like that happen today. And I still think there's probably not very many of them left, because they're getting to the age of retirement. And, I think in the next 10 years we'll see a huge shift, because the people that are coming up through leadership positions now and the people that are, getting into the workforce are more aware, and one of the problems, but two, how to deal with them, right? And there's so many more female leaders in mining, and so many more female leaders in transport, and they have all these mentorship programs that bring up the next generation of female leaders and those kinds of things. So I think the next 10 years is probably a really fun time to be a female in mining, civil or transport, because there's these programs that they've been running for the last couple of years are going to result in really good leaders, and we'll see a really big shift.
Yeah.
I love what you said before. If you can't see her, you can't be her if you can't see her. And I think that's absolutely what we're going to see in mining. I think we're going to see a lot more young women choosing it as a career path and as a career field, because it is an incredible field to be a part of. But I know, when we were younger, we didn't have any role models in that space. It was the odd one out.
Yeah.
But we do have a huge amount to offer. And our industries have a huge amount to offer, diverse brains and diverse people. So I think it's an exciting time, definitely.
I think as well, with this new time, it's so good how much consultants are coming in and how much they're leveraging off resources and different committees, and people are really showing a commitment to the new changing ways of the world. I just thought as well then of a time when I was a supervisor and I walked into a crib room and someone had drawn a queen on the whiteboard, and I was only female, and I was the supervisor, and I was like, who drew this? And no one would say. And I was like, what does it mean? They're like, oh, you think you're the queen. And I remember thinking, I'm glad that I have people that I'm going to go and vent to right now, because if I was by myself and, it could have gone a whole different way.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to the yapping and the connection, and making sure that, if you are in those kind of isolated situations, you have that support network. What about yourselves?
Definitely. And I think I reflect on mining, construction. I tried so hard to fit in and be like one of the boys. And actually now I'm realizing the very nature of being a woman and the experience I have in the world, they are the best parts about me as a leader. I am empathetic. I'm emotionally intelligent. I'm able to understand other people's perspectives. I'm able to have a different, idea or insights. And I remember being younger and thinking God, I'm too emotional. I'm too this, I'm too that. Now as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, those were the best parts about me, because leadership is about taking care of the people in your charge, not about taking charge of the people in your care. There's a significant difference between leadership and management. And caring about people is such an intrinsic part of being a leader. And I think that's an intrinsic part of being a female. And I think it's really important that we own that as well. And we don't hear the whole rhetoric around, oh, you're bossy. I have leadership skills. Is that what you meant? You wouldn't call him bossy.
You love that.
You wouldn't call him bossy, or you wouldn't call him these types of things. So I think being a female is actually such an important, almost powerful tool in what we do as leaders because we're able to understand things differently.
Someone said actually, people say to me all the time, stop using your teacher voice with us. I'm like, I'm not using my teacher voice. This is how I get stuff done.
Yeah.
I was like, if I didn't talk to you like this, we would just be sitting here having a general chit chat. But I'm assertive and I'm using my teacher voice to get you to do things. So, I think people will make comments, right? And people will belittle, call it whatever you want. They'll make you feel uncomfortable. But you just have to know that what you're doing is right and stand up for the next generation of females that are going to come through. And, it'll slowly wean the bad behaviour, I suppose you would call it, out. And, don't let them dull your sunshine. I remember reading this meme once that said, you're not everyone's cup of tea, and that's because you're champagne.
Yeah.
And so that's what I just say in my head. Yep, that's because I'm like popping bottles.
Yeah.
Might not be your cup of tea.
Might not be your cup of tea. And I think because we literally stood on the shoulders of women before us, right, who made all these changes. And we now know, like underground mining is an example, we know a lot of these organisations now have different toilets. They've got facilities available for women, all of these things. PPE, I remember going to site, the PPE never fit me. They never had boots small enough. Like, we know that those changes have happened because of incredible women before us. And so I'd like to think women like us are going to be part of a change for the women coming after us. And that leaving things better than we found them, I think, is always going to be something that we should strive to do.
Yeah.
Leave this place better than we found it for the next generation of young women coming through.
Yeah.
I love that. And to close out today and the mini-series, what is that one piece of advice that you'd give the younger generation of females coming through the industry? Mine would be to be the queen that they wrote on
be
the
queen bee.
Nah, but be confident in yourself.
Yeah.
And all the things that you've said, that those are your best qualities.
Yeah.
And, just probably that you don't have to be everybody's cup of tea as long as, you're you, right? And I think keep your integrity and just keep doing what you do, because I remember someone said to me the other day, I've been following you on LinkedIn for months and it's so cool seeing all this stuff that you're doing. And I was like, wow, I've never even met you and now you're calling me about something. So you might not see what you're doing, but just keep doing it, because there are so many people around you noticing and, you're inspiring people. So just keep doing it little bit by little bit and you'll change the world. A waterfall starts from a single drop. That's my advice.
Oh, I love that.
Love that. So I would completely agree with all of that. And that you and your voice matter and you have an impact even if you don't realise it. And what an exciting time to be making impact in this way. But yeah, girls are absolutely the future.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the 3-part series for Mental Health Week. Thank you so much to Sandon WA, Mental Health WA, and Lottery West for sponsoring this podcast. And make sure that this Mental Health Week, you look after yourself and also others. Thank you so much.